All right, so thanks everybody for joining. My name is Nick Knutson. I'm the executive director at Demcast. We're a 501c4 nonprofit organization dedicated to lifting strategic messages in digital spaces. We do that by empowering everyday social media users to use whatever reach they have to be as strategic as possible so that we can build our movement one post at a time. And with that, and if you're new to Demcast and you'd like to find out more, go to demcast.com. There's a join link up at the top. We would love to have you. Jamie, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
So we are joined by Brian and Cheyenne. Hopefully I said your name right. Is that correct?
You did, yeah, Cheyenne.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. And Brian is the head of partnerships at Unified, working with organizations and groups to maximize the platform's benefits. And Cheyenne is the CEO and co-founder at Unified. He's been involved with politics and advocacy work for the last 6 years, having started out as a volunteer on local campaigns in Texas, and eventually helping over 40 organizations around the country with digital and relational organizing. So we are excited for you guys to take it away.
Okay, great. Yeah, so thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Nick, for having us on. This is very special to be part of what you'll do in Demcast, and we're looking forward to hopefully helping you out in the coming year. So what I've done is prepared a little presentation for everyone here to check out what Unified is about. So I'm just going to go ahead and start that presentation and share my screen. Oh, can you enable the screen share for me?
Check it out.
Okay, great. Okay, can everyone see that? Yep, okay, great. Okay, so yes, thanks everyone. As we just did the introduction, so my name is Cheyenne. Like I said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Unified. Along with Brian, both of us have been organized in advocacy for a very long time. Brian more so than I am. So yeah, I've been doing organizing for the past 6 years or so. So like many of you have been exposed to the different ways that we do organizing today. One thing that has kind of always bothered me is that a lot of how people experience organizing today is kind of like this right here. I'm not talking about so much like us ourselves, the folks who do the organizing and the outreach, but our friends, family, and other voters and folks out there. Most of what they experience is a lot of basically kind of spam that goes out in terms of like texting, email, cold calling, that kind of stuff. And while this has its place, I've always felt that it's created more kind of like net harm than good for our movement as a whole. The reason for that being that it basically kind of churns and burns everyone involved in the movement. The screenshots I've shown here are just different things I've collected over the last year. Everything from actual candidates here in Texas messaging me about how to get new phone numbers to call people on, to organizers themselves burning out on the process, friends and family that are getting tired of getting spammed by folks, and just like the inauthentic messaging that goes out. So like, I'm sure everyone's been messaged by James Carville for the last year. And it just feels all very kind of transactional and inauthentic, in my opinion. And I think in the opinion of a lot of folks out there that we're trying to reach. So what we're trying to do at Unified is basically build a way to create a more authentic, more organic, more community-driven experience for organizers, activists, and the communities that we're supporting. And so with Unified, what we're hoping to do is provide a platform where anyone can make a real impact through social media posts that have built-in actions, build a community around folks that are making impacts and connecting with those folks, as well as provide a way for organizations themselves to grow their revenue, grow their donor base, again, with a very authentic and genuine community aspect. So let me show you how this will work. So for starters, when you open up the Unified app, you're going to have a home feed just like you would in other social media apps. So here we have Amanda posting about the Roe v. Wade decision some time ago. And you can start to see there's something a little different happening here. There's a few things that are kind of being shared in here. So we open up the post from Amanda. We're actually going to get a list of different actions that she's collected that she feels are important about this issue. So there's a few things happening here. She's posted something, but she's included these actions that include things like contacting the local DA, an event for like a local rally, maybe a survey to send to some friends, and a few other things. So if I, as someone who's following Amanda, were to open up one of these actions, it gives me an actual way to make an impact in this way. So this is what we call a contact representative action. It's just one of the many actions that we've kind of highlighted here. And so when I open this up, I can actually take the action of contacting the DA to send them a message about what I feel about this decision. And so what's happening here is that Amanda has posted this. She's included the action in here. The action is actually created by some other user on Unified. She's included in her post. And then I'm going to go ahead and take that action along with several others. So I can use the messaging that's provided by default. Unified handles the connection of like who to contact, and it tracks everyone who's making an impact on that. So like in this example here, there's like 44 others that have already taken this action. And so this is just like one of the many actions that we're going to be supporting when Unified launches and over time. As you can kind of see here, see some glimpses, there's some other types of actions. We're going to have like events, surveys, recommended following. This one's a registering voters action. And what's going to happen with each of these actions is that Unified kind of handles the heavy lifting behind the scenes in terms of like connecting the dots and the data and stuff like that and tracking the impact. And all you have to do is either create the action with like a built-in template, which is honestly going to be as easy as like creating like an Instagram story, or you can take the action, which is basically just clicking a few things and it does all the heavy lifting for you. So as I'm doing all these actions or creating actions for others, I can also interact with the folks who are doing that as well. So if I scroll down on this post here, just like another social media post will be comments. So I can see other people commenting on it. I can post my own comments. I can click into one of these profiles and pull up the individual profile for this user. And you can see this is a little different than other social media tools. Yes, we have like a little bio in the post and stuff like that, but we also have this person's impact. So here it's tracking all the different things that Amina has done over time, what kind of actions she's taken, what kind of community reach she has, that kind of stuff. And you can kind of think of it like your LinkedIn profile, like kind of where you work and what you've done, except it's for your activism and your impacts, your social impact. And so if I wanted to connect with Amina because I'm like, oh wow, she's doing all those amazing things, I can click on the little message icon and start a chat with her. Again, this is very similar to any other kind of like Facebook, Twitter, etc. But here it's just kind of built into the activism experience. So it just makes it really built in terms of like other activists doing things and connecting with them, and eventually building a community around each other's impact. And the last thing I'll kind of go through in terms of how it works is we're going to be supporting donation and fundraising for the platform as well. So organizations will be able to run donation drives or fundraising drives. We kind of like this because there's also, again, a social element to this where we can see other folks that are participating in that and connect with those folks. Organizations will be able to provide different kinds of subscriptions or membership tiers to their followers or to folks that want to help them. And then users can take these donation drives and share those within their content as well. So Kate here can take this donation drive that Lit Wisconsin has created and put it within her posts for her community to participate in as well. So actually, I wanted to take an example that Demcast did recently with the Warnock campaign. I saw some of the stuff you're doing in Speechify, and wanted to show how this might work within Unified as well. So Demcast would have their own organizational accounts, and they would post something like, hey, we're trying to do something in Georgia in the runoffs. Here's these different actions we've collected. So this first one is a turnout voters action. Then there's 2 local canvassing events. And then there's a messaging action to help spread some awareness around what the War Not campaign is doing. So I open up one of these actions. This is Jamie might have created an action for Demcast and specifically for GeoTV. And because I can sync my contacts with the Unified app, just like other relational organizing tools, I can pull up different voters I know in Georgia to message them with the specific messaging Demcast has provided me. And I can kind of just go down my list and do that. And we can see all the other Demcast followers that are doing this action as well, and kind of see the impact we're having as a group. And so let's say George is a volunteer or follower of Demcast. He can take this action as well and share that within his unified community. So he might make his own post, share that action, maybe share a few other actions. And now the folks that are following George are now engaged in that effort as well. So it's a great way to kind of like spread out this kind of action-driven content. What we're hoping is much like the same way that a tweet or a video on TikTok might go viral, actions in Unified can go viral as well, because they just happen to be particularly engaging or very impactful, and folks kind of sort of glom on into this like big impact they're having over one action. And it doesn't stay contained to Unified. Just like you can share social media or any other kind of content on other social media platforms, you can do the same with Unified actions. So this is like a mock-up of a tweet that George might post. And he can share his action on Twitter. So folks who may not be on Unified can see that action and then decide to take it if they want to. So this is a way to extend that impact beyond the sort of the close-knit Unified community itself. So yeah, that's kind of basically how we envision it working. We're currently building the app right now. We're kind of in an alpha mode at this moment. So right now we're developing the alpha and we're testing with select users. In March, we're hoping to do a private alpha launch. So that'll be kind of like an invite-only user base. And then between then and the end of the year, we'll be building out and testing all the different features, getting ready for a more public release. And so by the end of next year, we hope to enter into some sort of semi-public beta mode where you can join if you get an invite from your friend. So this is just a way for us to kind of gradually roll out the platform, make sure things are working correctly, we're doing things the right way, and we can kind of grow the community in a healthy, productive manner. So we have been doing some of that already, kind of like these presentations we've been giving to Demcast and to other groups. And so far we have over 400 individuals, different kinds of organizers and activists that have signed up to be part of our early adopter community. And we've been talking to over 80 organizations that are interested in some form of pilot next year. So this is just kind of our early effort to build that early critical mass so that when Unified does fully launch, there's a healthy, vibrant community that are doing interesting, engaging things. And so other folks can jump in and have a good time and feel like they're making a difference. So yeah, if you are interested in being part of this, there's a few different ways you can do that. The easiest thing is just to sign up for our wait list. So go to our website and just put in your email there in the form on the website, and you'll be signed up to the wait list. If you want to get a little more involved, you can be part of our early adopter and testing community and go to this URL here, the /join URL. And you'll be asked to participate in a little demo session, get familiarized with the product, and then we'll ask you, or we'll connect with you again to do follow-up testing sessions as we release new features. And the last thing, if you really want to get involved, if you have other organizations that you're part of, maybe like your local county party or something like that, and you want to have them check it out, I recommend you connect with Brian here. Here's his meeting invite, and we can do a more in-depth partner discussion and can help build out that partner network that way. So yeah, that is the gist of what we're doing. We're really excited about all of that. If you want to connect with me, this is my email. That's our social handle on Twitter and other places. We actually have to build our other social profiles with the new stuff right now. But yeah, so we're really excited. And again, thanks for Jamie and Nick for having us. We're hoping to work closely with Demcast as we roll this out and hopefully help your efforts with everything, all the great stuff that y'all are doing. So thank you again. And I will take questions. I know there's some questions that are being posted. Jamie, if it's okay, I'll just go down the list on the Q&A that's been posted. If there's any others, I can go through them. Okay, so how long has Unified been live or in testing? So we started designing the app about a year ago. We've been releasing, we've had like a usable alpha app for the last 4 to 6 months, I would say. And like I mentioned, we're going to start doing like actual, more extensive like pilot testing in about a month or so. So hopefully that answered that question. Next question is, if this is a social media app, how does it compare or differ from the other social media apps, Twitter, MySpace, and so on? So I think the main difference is that we view other social media networks as more designed for passive consumption of content. You post a tweet, you post a video, you watch it, you read it, etc. It's definitely has its use. But there's a high degree of friction between consuming media passively and actually making an impact, like a real action on the world. By having actual actions as content in Unified, we think we're bridging the gap between that passive consumption and actually like making a dent in the world. So that's what we see the main difference to be. There's others too, but I think it's the biggest one. Is this exclusively action organizing or also conversation as on Twitter? So you will be able to use Unified as almost like a straight up Twitter replacement if you wanted to. You can just post and reply and comment on that kind of stuff. We'll support all the same kind of media that you could post and watch or consume on Twitter and other things like that. But we'll have that added element of tooling specifically for organizers. Our mission as a company is to serve organizing and activism. So a lot of tooling will be based around that. But we recognize that having that extra stuff around just talking about whatever you want to talk about is important to keep that community active and healthy. Same presentation Mac did back in May. Mac is on our team. And if you do sign up for a more in-depth session, she'll be one of the ones keeping that demo to you. Please include easy accessible analytics like Twitter has. Yeah, so that's interesting. So we will have all the straightforward, things like how many folks replied to this, how many people liked it, that kind of stuff that Twitter has, impressions of the tweet, things like that. Well, again, because we have this real strong focus on organizing, it's going to go a bit further. So like if you do like a voter registration drive on Unified, it will tell at least you, and maybe we'll think about some of the privacy aspects, other folks as well, how many folks have been registered? Like what is the actual impact of this? And kind of like where the distribution of those registered voters are and things like that. We're thinking through some ways to expose those more advanced organizer analytics to help the organizer and the folks they want to share the information with show that impact. Is this more of a site for organizations that need to raise money? I run mine for pure joy. It's not just for raising money, definitely not. That is there because we want to make sure that there is a way for organizations to grow and benefit from the audience and community they build on Unified, and we think fundraising is a really important part of that. I do sincerely believe there being an avenue for organizations to do that, and we don't provide that. If we can connect the two, I think that should be a really interesting, strong connection. That is also, I think, important to note, that's how we do plan to monetize our business. So like, kind of like ActBlue, we'll take like a small commission on those funds that helps us build a platform and keep adding new features, that kind of stuff. Passive content, there are people who we want to reach as activists and helpfully talk to ourselves. I'm not sure how we as messaging warriors can use this to reach beyond our own audience. How will Unified bridge this gap? Okay, So you can think of Unified as having a lot of digital relational components built into it. Just like I'm sure many folks have used Reach. On Reach, you can kind of see in like the context you sync, like who's registered, who you need to reach out to, that kind of stuff. We'll have a lot of those same capabilities built into Unified so that there will be actions like the GeoTV one I kind of highlighted, where you can see folks outside of Unified, what actions you need to take on them, and then go take those actions. So it's, when I showed that action earlier in terms of like, hey, we got to turn out these voters in Georgia, that's not just Unified users. That's everyone you may know or other folks you may add into your contact network in Unified.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in and add to that really quick that I don't think you guys realize the impact you have on volunteerism when you're sharing all of these links that we put out. You know, since from 2020 to now, we've had over 20,000, 25,000 volunteers sign up from the links that you guys share. So this would actually allow you guys to see how many people you're personally recruiting.
Yeah.
So don't diss your impact here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's an important point. And I really feel like what you guys are trying to build here is filling a gap that doesn't exist. Like there is a need, like the people who are on this call, if you guys are longtime Demcasters, obviously like we focus squarely on messaging and getting messaging out and on social platforms. And I still think that yes, Unified is going to be a little bit more of a homogeneous community, probably in terms of political affiliation and activism. But just think of all the, like Jamie was saying, think about all the impacts that we've had in terms of sharing links to, like, hey, donate to this person, or hey, you know, go do this phone bank session, you know, and yes, we as activists personally are doing those things, but we're also sharing it with our social networks. And so like having Unified as a centralized place where we can source those opportunities that then we can share with our broader networks across all social platforms is going to be extremely valuable for us. And it's really going to help build the movement, I think. So
and this actually stems into a question that I think Keith has posted here. Mastodon's flaw seems to be its decentralization has Unified structured. So yeah, Unified is not a federated model like Mastodon. It is a centralized network. And one of the reasons I think that's really important is touching on something Nick just said, which is as you're reaching out to your contacts with the help of Unified is helping you build an understanding of those contacts, and anyone else who also knows those contacts is helping do that as well. And so while there is a strong sort of information privacy model baked into what we're doing, we're also helping, what's going to be happening behind the scenes is that Unified will be sort of coordinating the right nudges across all the contacts every Unified user has. So if person A needs to be nudged on day one to go vote, and then needs another nudge from someone else on day 5, Unified over time will help understand that and coordinate that in a sort of implicit behind the scenes kind of way. And so that centralized structure really helps kind of supercharge your outreach as a community. Desktop version or just phone app. So right now we're just focused on mobile just because of like we only have so many developer hours available. But we will be building a web version at some point. Problem with Twitter that someone else was able to buy it in Racket, who owns Unified. So Unified is a private company. It's privately owned at this point. Well, for what it's worth, we actually are raising a crowdfund at this moment. And so what that means is that if you are interested in owning a tiny slice of it, you can do that right now. Maybe Brian, if you could post the WeFunder link for folks. And we've done that in part because we want to try and make community ownership as big a part as is possible with current financing vehicles. So we've done a crowdfund for that. We hope to continue doing that as much as we can over our lifetime. So yeah, I will also note that we are structured as a public benefit corporation, which means there is what that legally means is that there is actual bylaws baked into our company formation, centered on our company mission. So regardless of how ownership would change over time in the future, there's like real restrictions on what the company can do based on those bylaws. You mentioned promoting unified actions on Twitter. Will be built in ways to promote to Mastodon? Yeah. So basically, again, just like you could share a URL to Mastodon or Post or anything like that. Same thing for unified actions. There'll be like a public link to that action, which can be shared anywhere. How can Unified be used to influence public opinion on undecided voters? Unified more like Slack or like Twitter or Facebook? I would say it leans toward Twitter or Facebook, but we are thinking of certain elements that Slack has, especially around group communication and threaded conversations and stuff like that, that I think are quite useful. We recognize that Slack is a very popular tool among organizing groups. And so we're trying to think about what about Slack makes it helpful for organizers and trying to leverage some of those in Unified's design. And then I don't share my personal contacts list. Are you talking about Unified contacts? When I was talking about this, I was talking about contacts outside of Unified. You will never be required to share your contacts with Unified. It's only if you want to engage in the actions where it's asking you to reach out to like potential voters outside of Unified and stuff like that. You would then need to sync your contacts. Like I kind of mentioned quickly, there is a really strong privacy architecture baked into our code. I'd be happy to go into details if folks want to do that. But suffice it to say, there's no way for outside organizations or anyone else to really see your private data, your PII. That's all protected and kind of actually internally federated, if I want to get into the details a little bit. So it's up to you, and if you do choose to do it, it's very controlled. Okay, those are all the structured Q&A. I'm not sure if I missed any that were in the chat.
Yeah, there were a couple in the chat. One question here from Michael Bryan wanted to know, will there be an API and means of sharing unified posts to other social media channels?
Right. Okay. So short answer is yes. So like I said earlier, you will be able to share content from Unified on other platforms. The API question is quite interesting. I have a lot of ideas around that. I do think one of the stumbles Twitter took many years ago is closing down their API network. There's a lot of potential that was squandered because of that. And so we think there's a lot of potential we can have by supporting a developer ecosystem. So probably out of scope to go into all the details on that on this call, but yes, there will be some sort of API capabilities. I know I think there was a question early on as I was like fees or anything like that of using Unified. So I just wanted to iterate that or state that Unified will be completely free to use for both the individuals and the organizations. The only costs we're planning at this moment are, again, if folks want to do donations or fundraising on the platform, we're planning on doing like a 3 to 4% fee on that. That's which is comparable to Applewood. Okay, a few more questions. Can I easily, by the way, no problem answering questions. They're all great questions. Can I easily delete contacts previously uploaded? Yes. Straight up, yes. Will people get paid for testing the app? We're not doing that at this point, mostly because as a startup, our resources are limited. So we're looking for folks who are just highly engaged with what we're doing and want to support us that way. So unfortunately, we won't be able to pay. I do realize there's some issues with that around everyone's time is valuable. It's just the nature of resource constrained organizations. Is there an algorithm or some feature for seeing things both within your network and outside your network? Seeing things outside your network. Yeah, okay. So yes. There's been a lot of talk recently around algorithmic social media feeds versus just sort of dumb feeds. I think we as an organization lean more on algorithmic feeds. There's a reason for that, for what we're trying to do. I think one of the problems with algorithmic feeds and other social media apps is that they are built on selling ads or getting you to buy stuff through ads. That's what the algorithm is there for. Because Unified will not be selling ads on its network, its algorithm will not be incentivized to do that. What it will be incentivized to do is help organizations run money and drive engagement into their actions. So our belief is that as someone gets more engaged with an organization or someone they're following and starts taking more actions, they're probably more likely to eventually donate to that organization, etc. So that means that the algorithm will be designed to drive civic and social cause engagement. So that does mean, to your question, there will be times where we likely will put stuff in your feed that's not straight up who you're following, but that'll be because we think it's something that you as an activist find interesting and would like to engage in. So that's our theory right now. We will of course test it with users and see what that results in. Non-English language support, accessibility, yes and yes. We will try to roll that out as soon as we can. Again, early on, we may not have all those features available, but we'll definitely try to get to those as soon as we're able to. How do you plan to keep awful people off of Unified? Yes, that question comes up a lot. Okay, so this is also one of those questions that we could have a whole separate webinar on, but I think okay, so the starting point with this question is always there is no such thing as a content moderation solution that scales to all situations. So we just need to accept that to start with. But I think one thing that we'll try to do differently from other social media platforms is provide more transparency and more consistency around our moderation. So a lot of platforms today really don't tell you why certain actions are taken. And as we know, they will bend the rules for certain high profile figures or people basically they think are going to make them money. So we think that just by being consistent, being transparent, that has a high correlation with keeping bad people off of the site. Again, we'll have to test that and see if that's true. But that's kind of like our starting point. I think the other thing is also, we're going to be very upfront over what kind of company, what kind of organization we are. We do things out, we don't think of ourselves as a tech company, we think of ourselves as a media company. That means that we do things like in our marketing and stuff like that, that are very clearly stating like who we're supporting and things like that. So again, it will not cover all bases, that's just literally impossible, but we think that will help sort of stem the tide to whatever extent that's possible. Let's see here, algorithmic feeds. I don't see a popular go vote post the day after. Yeah, yes, that's going to be factored into it. There will probably be time, how to put it, time sensitive actions and things like that. So yeah, that'll be baked into it. One drawback with Reach, I have no personal contacts in Wisconsin. I can't help voters there, same for other states. Reach doesn't seem to share pool contacts with other volunteers. How do Unified treat the contacts that are shared? I think if I'm understanding this question correctly, I'm gonna answer it this way. One thing we will explore in the future is allowing organizations to upload their own lists. So just like you can run like a phone banking or text banking operation on other tools, we'll try and figure out how to do some sort of social version of that within Unified in the future. Hopefully that's the answer to your question. Is Unified specific to democratic causes? So this is an interesting question. Our goal as a company is not to promote capital D Democrats. It's to promote civic engagement, progressive causes, social advancement, those sort of things. That is, in our opinion, a broader pool than Democrats, and I think inherently important to pushing forward the progressive movement. If we want Democrats to win, I mean, I certainly do, we need sort of adjacent groups to be part of it as well. So like one example are like here in Austin, this is a little quick tangent. We have a soccer club here, Austin FC, and the fan group is very much involved in like local advocacy, right? They're not trying to get Democrats to win, they're trying to just help their neighborhood. I want that group to be on Unified because those people have alignment with capital D Democratic efforts. So as a media platform, we're trying to bring those kind of groups together so they can help each other. Will there be integration with Van? Yes. Is there a place to watch or unload teaching slideshows? How are you keeping the Unified community safe, not just personal information, but from bullies that join with bad intents? I think this kind of touches on the previous question. How do you keep bad people off the platform? There will be folks who come onto the platform with good intention, but may do stupid things from time to time. It's kind of the same gradient or spectrum. Same rules apply here. Be consistent, be transparent. We hope that helps stem that. Is Unified a business or a nonprofit? So yeah, I kind of answered this already, but yes, we are a private company. We are for profit. We plan to make money off of commissions on donations. Van integration, do you have specific features in mind at this point? It's a little ahead on our roadmaps. We haven't put too much detail into it. As folks that have been involved in campaigns, we're pretty intimately aware of over what campaigns need from Van integrations with other tools. We've done that with other tools we've built in the past. So don't have a specific list for you right now, but we have experience doing it, and it's something we'll approach with the same sort of user feedback and process we had before.
And let us know in the chat what features you'd like to see
Yeah.
from integrations between Van and Unified.
I'd just like to jump in and say, just on the sort of topic of Democrat versus progressive or whatever. I one of the reasons that I really like what you guys are doing is that I think that we're completely on the same page, like on same track in terms as organizations. Demcast is also not like, we're not here to just like help Democrats win. We want to help build the movement, and the movement is broader than just Democrats and electoral politics. It's about helping make sure that unions are thriving and strong. It's about helping to make sure that people have reproductive rights and all these things. And so there's issues. There's elections are super important, but that's not the whole ball game. And so I appreciate that you guys are taking the track that you've taken. I appreciate that you're you're a civically minded organization. And as you can see from the questions that are being asked by our Demcast community, like we're a pretty good fit in terms of a like very social media literate and like amazing activists in that are part of the Demcast community. So
And
I think,
and if you guys missed this in chat, everybody wants an edit button.
Yes. Got it.
yeah,
Just in case you
don't make
missed
that
that.
mistake. Yeah.
Do not make that mistake.
Yeah. So anyway, just to underscore that there's very clear alignment between what you guys are trying to do and what we're trying to do. we're kind of more messaging side, you're more action side, but it's sort of parallel track. And I think that the Demcast community will thrive in Unified over time. So.
And you can't have one without the other. You can't have messaging without actions. You can't have actions without messaging.
Absolutely. Are we looking for material to put on the site? I mean, I suppose always yes. If you have some ideas for what we should add, let me know. We're very community driven, so any feedback you have on content would be great. Cool. Well, I think
I for one am really excited. Like, great questions, guys, as always. You guys are smart activists. You're on top of this stuff. I'm really excited for Unified to sort of go into beta and for us to jump in and like really try to build the Demcast community within Unified. I think that'll be an interesting project both for us and for Unified, just kind of see how that works. And I think will be a great feedback mechanism for you guys as you're continuing to develop the product. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
And okay, I see what Monica's saying now, which kind of what you're saying too as well. Is like anyone that's interested in like exploring different ways of putting out content when Unified is up and ready, and kind of programs or things you want to try out, definitely connect with us. And we want to work with everyone here to see how we can do that and explore those different use cases. That's very exciting to us.
Yeah, we need everybody on this call. Please go to our website at joinunified.us and sign up to be an early adopter. It's totally free, and you'll be one of the first people out there to get a chance to get Unified in their hands as soon as it goes live. So definitely want to take up on that opportunity. So go to joinunified.us and click on join.
Great.
I'm excited. I think this is great.
Thanks so much for having us. This has been great.
Yeah,
No,
this
absolutely.
is great. I mean, I've done many Zoom calls. This is by far the most active with the Q&A. So that was amazing.
Those are our people, man. No, but seriously, you kind of hit the jackpot. Like I was saying, with the Demcast communities, social media literate, amazing activists. So it's a really good test case for you guys. So we'll definitely do what we can to help get people launched into Unified when it's up, and we can add you guys to our Slack too, which might help with the sort of cross-pollination there. And thanks for coming. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having us. This is awesome.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Okay, I think we're good.
Yeah. All right. Have a happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody. We won't see you until after the new year. I know there's a lot going on with Twitter and social media and all this, and it's like stressful and weird, and what's our direction? We are working on the direction. We are working on making sure that everybody can follow everybody in all the different places where people can follow people, and we are going to make sure that we stay connected as a community, regardless of what Elon Musk does.
Well, and like with today's January 6th, we had just as many users on our January 6th campaign as we have on any other hearing. The difference is on this one, only 50% were shared on Twitter. The rest were shared on other platforms, which means the reach was actually much broader. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. We can reach more people this way.
Yeah, so we'll be connecting with everybody in the new year to talk about we're going to be building out a communal space that's non-platform specific where people can come together and join together and as a Demcast community. And we'll be sharing more about that in the new year. That'll help to fight against the issues that we have when billionaires buy social platforms and tank them because they're manic and crazy. Which
Yeah,
could
and
happen
it-
at any moment, really.
Yeah, and it will create more of a community as well, where you're not
Yeah.
just, you don't just know people just in your state or your specific issue. You'll be able to meet people all around the country.
Yeah,
So-
this has always been our mission. We aren't platform specific, and we will thrive and grow and be even better for the 2024 cycle. So
Okay, I'm not sure we're up to that, sorry.
yeah, I don't think at
No.
least in our current iteration, we are not, we do not have the expertise to host a Mastodon server. but we will.
But hey, if anybody here has those skills and wants to
Yeah.
be the lead developer on that, we will gladly accept your volunteer time.
I know, but even, I mean, that's funny, but like, that's not what we do. We don't do tech. We aren't a tech company. We don't have any designs on that. We just want to help make sure that people have the best messaging so that they can share it on whatever social platforms they're on. And we will continue to hone our ability to do that. And we will, create more of a communal space that's non-platform specific so that we can all get together and share all the best advice about how to message regardless of where we all are. So that's what we're going to do. So happy holidays. Love y'all. Y'all are the best, literally the best activist community in the space, in my personal humble opinion.
Non-biased. We're not biased.
Totally
No,
unbiased.
We're not non-biased. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have been with the January 6th Justice, 4.8 billion impressions.
4.8 billion impressions. And that's just on Twitter because that's the only platform that gives us the data. But we are sharing on other platforms and we just don't know what the impact is in other places because it's really hard to measure. But you
I can
guys
kind of
are
see on TikTok and it's 100 million views.
100 million views of
Yeah.
videos. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we are everywhere and we will continue to be everywhere and even more so in the new year. So happy New Year, everybody. We will see you in 2023.
Bye, guys.